What up? What up? What up, everybody? Welcome back to another of my streams. Hopping back on here, trying to finish this app as soon as I can. Hopefully by the end of this week. Trying to knock off a bunch of little things that are still on my to-do list before I can get this up, at least MVP version up on my VPS hosting, get some production testing. But I think I'm well on my way. Last time I left off, just last night, was setting up avatars and image uploading and all that goodness. I did actually finish that off offline. So what I ended up doing was basically utilizing my super base and created a bucket. Did some signatures on the URLs to make sure that everything's secure, and then utilizing super bases RLS. I had another chatter in here the other day suggesting Cloudflare R2, and I might actually end up doing that in the future. But right now, I'm actually enjoying the security that comes with using Superbase's implementation. I might change it up. We'll see. But for now, it's good because right now I'm strictly using it for avatars and workspace logos. When I get into uploading documents and whatever, I'll kind of come to that decision later on. But we'll see if the prices and everything is reasonable. But yeah, so I got all that set up. Let's check it up here. As you can see, where am I? I am kind of where I left off. Created my Superbase server that handles, you know, generating short-lived signed URLs for reading private objects, basically, so I can upload a file directly to Superbase. I need to sign it, and then making sure that what I get is secure and the right file. So all this was set up here in my server file, and then it created a image compression file as well, basically converting all images to WebP and compressing it down to a specific size, just keeping file size small and fast. So that's the general thing I did. And then I obviously set everything up on my Superbase side to handle all of that. And then if I go over to the actual app, as you can see, the logos are actually appearing here. Set up my settings. This needs to be all right. So when I come back, so what I did is basically I'm caching. One trick I had to do is caching, so I don't need to basically reload and refetch every time and recheck if it is signed properly, because that's generally what happens, what you will have to do if you are going to a new URL. So I set up a caching system to cache the image in for a certain amount of time, and then obviously reload when it's past that caching date. So that's kind of what I did right now. That's one trick I figured out how to keep avatars persistent across different routes without having to constantly check that it's correctly signed. So caching is one way to do that. I had to set up my own rate limiting as well. Because of my production, I always set up a separate Redis, how do you say it? Redis, server to handle like all my real time services, especially with messages and notifications. So I also utilize that for just rate limiting. So my other app I actually use Upstash to handle rate limiting, but this one I'm deciding to do it just in house because it's free. So I think I got a pretty good setup with that. But overall, yeah, got my avatars looking good. Project page looking pretty good so far. Got task and everything. So I just need to come in here and tighten up a bunch of little things on my checklist before I get to the last and final piece of this MVP version, which will be notifications and handling all of that. So, all right. So first thing I want to do right now is I need to be able to So now I need to implement actually deletion for images, because as of right now, how it's working is once you upload this, unless you upload it to a completely new image, you're pretty much stuck with this, which I don't like. I like the ability to actually remove this and just go back to the fallback and have nothing there. And it will also be the same in this workspace logo. So it's told to go ahead and implement that. It should be pretty easy. Then I need to implement actually like other actions like user deletion and then password reset and forgot that whole flow. And then do some other things like handling email change, which can be always be a little bit difficult. You don't want it to be too intrusive, but when you're dealing with an app like this, where there are going to be some sensitive information and details, particularly pertaining to business, I do like to lock it down. So my general flow, what I do is I need a confirmation from your old email before I verify and switch things over to the new email. I know that can cause some issues for some people, but it's generally better to be on the safer side than to allow email changing with just a password. And then later on, once I do that, I'll probably implement two-factor authentication and passkeys. And then if those are set, that will override probably the need to have confirmation of your old email first. I will just basically rely on the passkey and two-factor authentication to confirm that you want to change it. But as of right now, first initial setup, I will need a confirmation from your old email. Okay, so it said all right, so added API intents to delete my stored images. Cleared my database field to null and deletes the storage object, which is also a useful benefit of using something like Supabase. You can just go ahead and delete the actual object when you either change your avatar or you delete it. So it's gonna just go ahead and delete the storage object, and then it keeps my authorizations in check. And then added remove avatar and user settings, added delete state in handler, and then did the same thing for more extension sets. All right, so let's check this out. So create a new intent, because I do a lot of these with my switch and case, so just makes it much easier to read. So in the case of this, it's going to delete user avatar and delete this, and then you're going to call these two functions to actually handle the delete. And here's the functions. There's one existing, so you're going to select it. And if it is true, and if it is a Supabase path, basically meaning if this image is uploaded to Supabase, you're gonna delete the object from Supabase. Otherwise, then you're gonna set this to no. Otherwise, if it isn't, meaning it's just a direct upload to something else, you're just gonna set the database file to no. Same thing here. Make sure you're your owner. Check existing Supabase. Then you delete the Supabase, and then you update the universe. Okay, that looks good. This is just another function to handle avatar deletion for users. Same, set the state, call this API with the intent of delete user avatar. Then you're gonna wait for the response. If it's okay, if it's not okay, or there's an error, throw the new error. Otherwise, set the state back to avatar preview to null, and then set the avatar URL to null. And then avatar removed, revalidate it, cool. Here's the button. Let's check this. Same. Okay. All right, cool. Looks pretty good. So let's check this out. Refresh. Boom. Let's make this a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Appreciate the follow, sub. Let's remove this margin top. Let's go. Huh. So there seems to be. Let's do this. Alright, so come here, remove, cool. Avatar removed. Appropriately set, removes it in the header. Come back here. It's removed from all my cards. Let's go to the project, remove from the cards. Go to my tasks. All right, it's removed. Let's go here, view my task. Boom. All right, looks good so far. Let's go to notes. Make sure those are removed. All right. And go back to workspace, go to members. Task. Notes. All right, cool. So that works. And then let's go to remove logo. Let's fix that one as well. Cool. Let's remove. Cool. Removed. Here. Sure, projects removed. Dashboard removed. All right. So that works. Pretty straightforward. Just basically created a new intent. Well, two new intents: delete user avatar, delete workspace logo. But because I'm working with Supabase, you want to make sure that you also delete it if you can from the actual bucket setup on that end. So that's the only extra thing that you'd have to do versus using something like Upload Thing, which you pretty much just remove it from your database, but it still exists on Upload Things bucket. So that's one. I'm sure there's a way you could delete it, but it makes it really easy when you have that Supabase connection. So that's one thing about it I do enjoy. And then when I come back, let's go here, settings. Let's go to re-add, make sure it still works. I don't need to save changes. Cool. It's here. That's good. All right. Let's update this one. Works. Cool. Dashboard loads. Cool. All right, so we mark that off as done. Next thing I need to do is delete task. Set that up as well. So if I come in here, come here. Let's actually come to this one. And for example, if I go to one that's pending, I come here, there is no way for me to delete it. I need to set that up. So I told it to go ahead and wire up task deletion, and basically scoped it to only tasks that are still pending. So you can't delete something that's either in review or in review or completed or in progress, because you're working with a two-way kind of system right now, and I don't want to be able to remove something that a client is actively working on that just creates a lot of confusion. So you can delete ones. Maybe you accidentally made a task that you don't need. You can go ahead and delete that. And then I'll probably need to actually set up another function to actually cancel a task. So let's say you have started something or it's in review, then you realize that you actually don't need it. I don't want it to be able to hard delete. That's not good user experience. You want to be able to see, especially transparency wise, everything that's done. So I'm going to add another functionality called cancel task, which will not delete it, but mark it as canceled, and nobody can actually. So I'm going to have to basically update the new state. So I'll do that next. All right, it says it wired it up, so let's check my server. I should have created it right here. Let's see. All right, so basically, check my status. So soft delete is the functionality. Status true. Task can only be deleted while pending. All right. Then I wired it up here. So I actually already had set up soft delete. I forgot about that. I just didn't wire it in. So it needs to launch. Yeah, all right. So it should launch this dialog confirmation right here. Project timeline, only pending tasks can be deleted. Cancel, cancel. Cool. All right, so let's go just test this out. Refresh. Come to view task. Come here. Should say delete task. Got that. Let's update that though. Don't like the trash can.
Yeah.
Appreciate the follow. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's add this separator. That's interesting. Why am I not seeing it? Interesting. All right, let me go check this. Yeah, why the hell? Okay. That's not working. Hold on. That's interesting. I don't know why. Fresh. All right. Trying to figure out why. Uh, Import issue. So it was Radix. That's what it was. All right. Come back, check this out. All right, cool. Edit task, delete task. Cancel. So let's try it. Let's delete this task. So remove the task project timeline. Only pending task can go delete. There's a weird flicker. Gotta fix that. But remove the task and then just double check the timeline. Also removed it there. Okay. I think I know why there's a flicker. Typically, when it happens when it's revalidation, basically before navigating, it's closing, then opening, then closing, then navigating, and typically I need to either hold it open until all this finishes, or just go ahead and close it immediately and try to keep it closed. So. All right, so it should resolve that, and then let's come back, and while it's doing that, let's come back and test this again. Let's create now here. Let's go to view task. All right, so here's what it did. Like I said, this is typically what caused the issue. Handling states, so just basically removed it completely, and then should have, where is it? Set of added guards. Test, toast success, on open change. Where is it? Okay, so here it is. If deleting task returns and open and added a guard. Let's just double check. Refresh. Come here. Delete task. All right, that fixed it. Cool. Flicker gone. Delete a task. I do want to add another action here that says like cancel task or something like that. Maybe it's no longer needed, so I'll probably do that. So I think I need to scope this off delete. I don't know if I did or not. Let's double check. Here's my server. Um, Only organization members can delete task. Yes, I need to add some scoping here. I need to tighten up validation. Only creators of task or to delete a task. All right, so it should have updated things. So let's just check. So it said checking if the existing project has bring in my organization ID and created my user ID as relations, basically. So then I can check if the member of the organization is the actor, basically the creator of the task. Otherwise, if they're the owner or the admin, and if they're neither of those, then they can't delete. So double check, make sure that that's working properly. So here, let's go to log out. Let's try this. So I'm just a member of this organization, so I can see all the tasks. Let's go back. So I can see all the tasks, and here, let's go to this one. Let's create a task. I'll even test it with assigning. Let's create that task. Now it's pending, and say this is pending, and this one was, this is already pending. See, it was created by somebody else. come here. I shouldn't be able to delete this task. So I need to also tell it to scope the button. So it's going to scope my button right now to disable it. Basically, if you are not the owner or admin, or you weren't the creator of this, because right now it wouldn't go through on the back end, but that's not good user experience. This should be completely disabled, so you don't even think you can delete it. So come in here. Should be able to delete this one though. Create another one, right? Should be able to delete. All right, organization member. Again, can manage basically if you are an organization member, or if you created it, or if you're owner or your admin. Cool. And it returns it as this prop. And then you load that prop, and then if task option is disabled, if it hits any of these, and then come here, disable, disable, disable. Okay, so then I come back, view, so I can't edit. All right, so basically just disabled the whole options completely. But on these, because I created them, I can. So let's come here. It's gonna delete. Cool, that worked. Let's try with my original. Where am I? Yeah, we're all. Didn't create this one. I am a lead, but I'm also the owner of this workspace, so I should be able to delete it anyways. Yep. Edit. Delete. Cool. I don't know. I think it's a little aggressive with the scoping, so I'm going to remove this part where it's disabled completely to disabled. Here, let's do that. Let's keep that change. So now I want to come back. I check. Okay. Should still be able to click. All right, but these are disabled. Cool. All right, that's better functionality. And then I want to set up cancellations. Yeah. Appreciate the follow. It's the test that our progress interview can be canceled. All right. Owner test. But not. All right, so basically next thing I'm doing is I had set up task deletion, which is fine for tasks that are pending. Basically, they haven't been started by the client. But let's say a client starts the task and the I come around to it like actually I don't need this in hindsight. I don't want to completely remove it from the timeline because the timeline is supposed to be completely transparent so that you can see basically the whole history of what we're working on. So I'm gonna create a new state because I have a bunch of states right now that are, let's see. It's my loader. Basically these different pending in progress interview completed. So what I'm basically want to do is gonna need to create a new schema addition to also handle another state called canceled, and that would be a special state that will basically disable interactivity completely for the task, but all of the events in the task are still going to be visible for posterity, basically. So yeah, as you can see, it already added it. Like I said, created another state called canceled, added some styling to it. This is just a helper file. Then it should go through and it should add to my schema. Yep, also here. And update my validations so that it is included in the enumerable states that can be actually passed to it. Validated. Again, updated statuses here in my data tape object. Pookie Sandra. That transition from pro to program is actually really unique. I mean, yeah, I appreciate it. I wouldn't necessarily, for me personally, it wasn't that much of a transition. I was already doing this a lot on my own and in my own spare time on the side. But yeah, I'm definitely going to this more full time. So yeah, I don't know too many other Ubers that are definitely going this route. Am I planning to build this into a bigger personal brand or YouTube? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just live building. We'll just see where I take things. And Unstoppable Purple. Am I doing this in React? This isn't React Native. This is a React framework called React Router 7. So it's basically React Native, and then which would typically originally when React first came out it was React Router, which was an addition to React Native that allowed you to do server-side things. Now it's its own framework called React Router 7, formerly known as Remix, and that's basically what I'm building on. All right, let's see. I want to check the backend. All right, so I updated my type objects to include canceled. Here's my server task action from added the status. Again, just updating all my statuses because it's a new state for a task, and then cancel task cannot be updated. Cool. Then here's the actual function to cancel the project task. Just some guards right here for validation. It's gonna find a task. Some more guards here. Gonna check the members, make sure that you have permission. Basically, you either are the creator of the task or you are an owner or admin in the workspace. And then if all that passes, here's the actual function. You're going to insert into the table and just basically just update the status to canceled, because that just tells me, basically enables me to go on the front end, pull out the status of the task, and if it's canceled, then style it and disable things as I need. It's also updating here, timeline events, get project. That's that status change. All right, cool. And then it just emits it. Basically, this is creating This is also updating the timeline because it's a mix between messages and tasks. Should be on the left side. Yeah, I could be. Well, I'll think about it maybe in the future. Um, are you saying that because you want to see what the chat is actually doing? Pretty much walking through it anyways. Here's the API, brings in the functions. Again, cancel task. Here's the case. Basically, this is going to be the intent called from the front end. It's going to call that actual function. Cool. I think it generated the file, so yeah, I need to migrate. Test the server. I loader data that can manage tasks. Am I not passing that down? I hate that it does that, so let's do this. See, don't that it's all loader data. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go back in here later and clean that up. I don't like that in my code. And then the actual function to cancel, call the API, pass the intent. If it's not okay, return error, get the payload. Again, error if it's not, otherwise set the task to the payload and then cancel dialog. And it should have created a cancel dialog. Okay, so no longer accept. All right. Um, so all right, so what model am I using for planning? I use Opus 4.6 right now when I plan out a new kind of major feature, so it can go over my whole kind of code and workspace and basically figure out where it needs to plug in. I think it does a pretty good job of handling all that context. And then for implementation, I use Chat GPT 5.3 Codex because it's pretty fast and obviously much cheaper. So I plan with 4.6, then I implement with 5.3. But then I always do a manual check. I'm not at that point where I'm willing to just let it do everything. Hey, appreciate the subscriptions, Wayne. Pookie Sandra, how much time does it take for you to be a programmer? I mean, it's kind of up to you. How much time are you willing to put in? How much practice are you going to do? How many things you're going to build? It's really kind of up to you. Like, it can be as fast as like, are you saying to build something or to be a programmer? Because I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a full programmer. Um, I'm not bad. I do understand a lot about programming, especially with like JavaScript and things. But I wouldn't consider myself as good as somebody that's been doing this like at a professional level for years and years. I'm enough to get by. I consider myself more of a builder. So to be able to build, not that long. To actually understand and be able to build everything from the ground up, years. But again, that all depends on how much time you put in, honestly. Um, make one free thumbnail for you. Hey, I appreciate the offer, but honestly, nah. I do all my designs and stuff also. I was in business and did a bunch of marketing and design for years, so I actually handle all that myself, but I appreciate it. How have you learned programming? Tutorials, just building projects, searching things up as you go slowly for this project. So Unstoppable Purple, the way I learned, I mean, it's kind of been a lifelong journey for me. Like I was always dabbling in computers since I was a kid. I started hacking things when I was young. I was subscribed to all the computer magazines. I actually was like pretty technically sound and interested when I was a kid, so I was always involved. And when I went to college, my first degree was actually going to be computer engineering. Um, I've told this already, but I stopped basically because I also hooped. I played basketball at University of Nevada, Division One, high level. So didn't really have a lot of time for that. With all the labs and all the work and everything else that came with it. I wanted to be a college kid. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to enjoy my experience as much as I could. So I switched and went to business management. And even though I switched, I never stopped like dabbling and doing things on my own. I was always like a freelancer. I was always somebody that was interested and just did things on my own. So I just learned how to build things. The first like true language I learned how to build something from the ground up, I would say, was probably Ruby on Rails. I also knew PHP. I knew a little bit of JavaScript. I was very good in HTML, CSS. So I always kind of had like some sort of background into it, but I didn't really like get back into it full time until a year, maybe about 2 years ago, like where I was like, all right, I want to like do this after, my career. And like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my foreseeable future, because I enjoy building things, and that's kind of the route I took. So for me to like get to this level within the last year or two, I would say I did Free Code Camp. Um, it's basically a free resource that teaches you, the basics of coding when it comes to like JavaScript, approach programming and building things. It does a really good job of that. So I did that for about, I don't know, took me about 3-4 months. It depends on basically how much time you're willing to put in. So I did those courses, and then I did obviously the usual route, which is just YouTube tutorials where you build like small little apps and things and stuff like that, and your own portfolio page and all that. I did that for about a month, and I got bored. And honestly, a lot of people get stuck in kind of that YouTube tutorial hell where it's like just you're building things, but you're not actually learning. So I was like, enough of this. And I've always had ideas of things I wanted to build, and I would just pick the hardest thing I could think of, and I went to go build it. And then, with all the resources out there, I used to use Stack Overflow when I was back in the day for a lot of help. That's basically gone now. Everybody just uses AI. So like with the help of, these AI agents, which I used as like a coding partner and like a tutorial guide, not just a go do it type of thing. That's pretty much how I built up my skills so far. Composer too. No. Oh yeah, I use that as cursor model. Yeah, I pretty much do all my like high level major planning with Opus. I think it just does a really good job. But implementation, I just throw 5.3 at it, and I've never really had any problems with it. All right, so here's the dialogue. Canceled. That's it. Should be fine. So let's first of all, let's clear. No issues. So let's run this again. Mr. Tom 1234. What up, huh? Nah, I had gray hair before I started coding. All right, let's just double check this. Make sure this works. All right, come in here. So, all right, this is interview. So I come here. Let's change that text. All right, let's change this. I don't like how that looks. Here it is. Let's find. All right, let's do this. Let's go. Last name, cancel. Let's not go. Tripping. All right, cool. Cancel. Let's go to this dialog. Let's make that a keep task. Oh. Ignoring my. There it is. All right, so I can't change anything here. It gets marked as canceled. This task canceled and no longer accept updates. Now, if I come back to the timeline, canceled. I'm here. Let's remove that from the side. All right, so it's on the timeline, but you should see it's canceled. No actions can be taken. I need to remove it from the sidebar, and then if I come to my task, it's not in my active task. Well, I'll come here, still here, but it's still in the projects. It's not listed. All right, so this is the only area I need to clean this up. Now let's go as, let's say, a client, right? See my projects. It's no longer there, but I can see there was a task. I can view it, but it's canceled. Cool. Exactly what I wanted. All right. So I think that's good for my task. That basically removed everything. So it goes through pending, in progress, in review, canceled, and completed. The other task I want to Yeah, I need to clean that up. I need to make that into a floor. Colin Moran, man, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. All right. Cool. So now throw instead of a error, it returns a no project found for clients. It's here. All right. Next thing I'm gonna tackle, I want to clean this message was deleted up. So let's go.
Yeah.
Sean Drexler, appreciate the sub. Let's go to message item. Let's not do that. All right, message that is deleted. I want to remove all of this, basically. All this? Yeah, let's do that. It's all this. Um, for whatever reason, it's completely. All right, let's just see what it does. All right. Why wasn't it? All right. I'm just gonna tell the agent to do this. What's happening? March the official, what's up? I'm just basically trying to scope out this messages right now for when it's deleted. Right now I have it set up so message deleted, it gets a decreased opacity, but honestly I want to remove certain elements and just show this message deleted. I want to do that. I don't know how to do that. Let's see. Could leave it. I just noticed something weird. All right, let's do this. Let's test you out. No, I'm not gonna mess with that. I'm gonna leave this as it is, but I do want to restyle these. Like mostly there, but not quite. All right, I'm gonna do some testing. Let me log out of view. For example, all right, what project am I working on? Let's go here. Oh, shit. What's wrong? All right, let's go here. All right, here's the start the task. Opens. Cool. Let's complete it. Submit it. Tirana. Appreciate it. I don't know who you are. All right, view this task. Let's mark that's complete, right? Let's go back to timeline. Good to go. Right, cool. Now let's create a final one that needs approval. something like that. No link needed. Create that task. Now it's an approval project pending. Why am I seeing the start? Tom does tech. What am I building? I'm building a, I guess you can call it a project management client workflow app, basically for freelancers, small businesses, other people. That basically you create your workspace. Here you can have you can invite different users and members of your team or people that you might be working with on certain projects. You create your project. You invite your client accepts, they get this project timeline where you can communicate, send tasks, update basically the progress of it, create notes for your team, and then basically take a client from start to finish for a project. That is it in a nutshell. I don't know why I am seeing the start working task. All right, so that needs to be figured out because it should be. So this is the task. I have no actions. Okay, so it should be my job to approve. All right, so a client should have this button to either approve or deny this final task. Let's see. All right, let's figure this out. Looks sick. Nice work. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. I forgot if I remember. It's been a while since I touched this. So let me see. I think my logic should be if I create an approval task for a client, basically I'm sending them the final mock-up, final whatever. I need them to approve it, and then I can basically complete the project. So I shouldn't be seeing start task. They should be seeing approve or send for revision. That's what should be happening. All right. Pending. It's not handle transition. There it is. So nope, it's not. Here it is. It is. All right, transition task. You're passing it to. It loads. It says that's not it. That's my API call. Get next task actions. Here it is. Just go ahead. It's in my status helper. Actions type as standard. Here it is. Here's what I'm looking for. If task type is standard, it is this, but it should not be this. So it should fall back to here. And if status equals pending, enroll equals rotation, label means start working. No, so status is, it should basically, when I create an approval, all right, that needs to be completely reworked. right, so basically, I'm just telling it instead of having to go through this all myself, I'm telling it to rewire what we have already set up. It works properly for a standard task. Basically, if I'm an organization member, workspace member, I create a task, the status becomes pending, right? And then if the role is the client, what they see is a start task button, which will change its status from pending to in progress. And then if I am a organization member or a workspace member, wait, where is it? Why is it? No. Let's move this up. And then if you're a client and you see it's in progress, you see a button saying complete task, which sends it to in review, which then gets sent to the organization and they can then see mark it as incomplete task or mark it as complete. Basically, I need to flip that in reverse when it is an approval task because I'm asking for approval as the workspace to see like, okay, say you wanted me to draw up something, mock up something. I need your approval for this. If you agree, mark it as complete. If not, you can ask for a revision. So basically, I'm just flipping it back and forth. And instead of going through each line of code, because there's a lot of code that I built, and reconfiguring everything, I'm just telling it to refactor it automatically. So basically what it is, if status is in progress and roles member, then you see a complete task or in review. And if status is in review in your client, it should be request for revision. All right, that makes sense now. And here's the action. Again, approve, completed, request revision, in progress, enroll. Cool. That makes sense now. Let's get to my server. Right. Approval transitions goes from pending to in review instead of in progress. So then the client will see it as, approval or request revision. That makes sense. Approval. Arguments that type equals approval. Then it's going to be in review or pending. Okay. All right. Let's double check that. It's pending. But it should be in review. So I created it and it should automatically be in review. So I need to fix that too. Or let's actually just delete this task. Let's try this again. Start my server over. All right, so what should happen is when I choose a approval, lockup, no description needed. Let's create it. Cool. All right, that fixed it. So for an approval task, it gets marked as in review automatically if I'm a workspace member, basically sending it to the client to review this and approve or deny it. So if I'm the client, and then here I see in my active task, approve. I can come here, I can approve it, or I can request another revision. All right, that needs to be fixed as well. All right, so basically, it's not on this one, but let's go here. I can't see it, but on my other workspace project, typically what should be happening, which is not, this view task should be taking up the whole place, and then these two should be stacked underneath. So let me go ahead and fix that. Complete actions. Cool. If just go ahead and rework this. Then it should still respect this notes required. Let's just double check that. All right, so did that. Okay, so it should stack action buttons right here. Action style length equals 2. And then if it should stack, make this view task button full, flex 1. Otherwise, take these, double, cool. So then you can see, all right, there, that's much better. So you got the view task, approve, and request right here. Then if I go to my task timeline, it should also stay the same. Go to view task, side by side, cool. And this is basically adding submission details. I need to change that language. But as you can see, everything's disabled until you provide details. So you can't just request a revision without providing context for the workspace or whatever to actually complete this. That's exactly the behavior I'm expecting. So here, change it to add revision. Somewhere. I need to double check, make sure it's the same on here. Let's go to request, revision, okay. This needs to be fixed as well. So let's go here. I like this better. So all right, but while doing that, once I go to view, this is exactly the language I want. Let's see. Can you change the font to something modern, right? So I submit it. Oh, okay. Why did that not work now? Wait, sending a task. I added those notes. All right, let me double check that. Inspect my console. See what my errors I'm getting. Refresh. All right, so I'm getting a 400 bad request. All right, let's take a look at that. For that, let's make sure add revision details. Interesting. Provide additional context to complete this task. Interesting. All right, I gotta figure out where this discrepancy is. I think that's what it is. Let's just take this. Matter of fact, let's just take this whole thing. Now let's come back, refresh, provide additional context, timeline. Matter of fact, let's go to task, request revision. That's cool. All right, now let's investigate this. Where's the errors? And even though I have a kind of general idea of what is causing this, I always use agents to further investigate issues because a lot of times it might find things that I would overlook. So even though I think I generally know where this is happening, I wanted to search my entire code base and make sure it's not some other issue that I might be overlooking. Should be happening. It's my task. This is deletions. All right, so here's it updating. Should open completion. Client, if it's standard and it's pending, and it's completion. Let's type check. All right, so this guard was basically catching my revision request. So I made it ensure that the type is only for standard. So let's double check that. What is my issue? My issue is that my revision request was not getting submitted as it was supposed to. And the reason is because I had created guards in place for another standard, which is a whole nother topic. But yesterday I put in some guards to require notes when you're requesting revision, and that was blocking this. So I had to go and fix that. Let's see. Add revision request details. I should start putting this in the details of the stream. Basically, what this app is doing, which I've said before, is a project. I guess you call it project management app that you as a freelancer or small business or business or whatever, studio, label, whatever, that you have clients that you work with and you invite them to this platform and you're able to onboard them, you are able to communicate, you're able to complete tasks all the way from start to finish, basically simplifying the process of working on projects, especially as a freelancer. It's a very painful point for a lot of people, and it's something I hate doing and hate emailing. This is basically getting rid of that whole process. Why not using cursor? Because I don't use cursor. Okay, so that updated, sent us in progress. Cool. Here's the details. Details get out here. So I sent it back to the workspace, basically looking for, and it updated my status to in progress. And I'm telling it here from Nigeria. What up, man? So it's in progress. So once I go look as the workspace, as a member of the workspace, let's just, don't even got to be the owner. So come to my workspace. That should be, all right, because I'm not the lead. So you see the task here. I can come to projects, come to overview. It's also here in the task, marked again as in progress. Cool. So I come here, log it into workspace, seeing what needs to be done. Okay, I see that they sent it back and it needs to be completed. So I can view this. Here's the details. Can you make my font more modern? So I'll do whatever I needed, send it back to them, and then I would once again mark this as complete, and they once again will review. But that needs to be fixed because I need to be able to write a note back. Because let's just check my other flow. All right, so create this task. Just do this again. So let's say provide login credentials. Server standard. Okay. I'm not gonna put a link because I just need specific details. I'm gonna make logged in as, I'm gonna make him as the update the client details. Let's just say like that. Create the task, right? Pending internal instructions to people on the workspace on my team. Basically, here's the description for the actual client, and I get my full timeline of when this task was created. So then I log in. I see, as a client, I see there's a task waiting for me. It says, please provide login credentials. All right. Do I do freelancing? Yeah, I do. I wouldn't say I'm super high volume right now as I'm still building that part of this out, but I do some freelancing. I've built some websites for people, and I've worked on some custom apps and helped out with other people when they need certain things in their projects. I'm definitely going to be looking to build that up more. And honestly, this is the idea for this, was working with another small business to kind of build out their business structure. And most businesses, when you work with them, they have no system in place and how to take and onboard a client. So I basically birthed this idea. I was like, nah, why not just build one myself? It's good for practice. It's good to build some skills, and it's going to be useful in the future. So that's how it started. All right, so it says provide log credentials as a client. I click start. Basically, it tells me right here, here's what they need to do. Provide us with log credentials. Here's, let's say, username. Again, let's just go admin. Password, it's going to be password 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Complete the task. I've got it submitted for in review. And then here it is, the details of it. And then again, if I log in, see there's in review for me again. You can see from the different projects. Come back. Here's what the details were. Can you provide login credentials to your server? Internal instructions, update the client details with this info. Obviously, I would need to go back in and fix certain things, but here, let's say this password isn't wrong, right? Or is wrong. I tried it. I'll go and complete this. Doesn't work. Can you provide a correct one? Just say something like that, right? Imagination scene, what up, man? So submit, boom. I told them, sending it back to the client again, and here's the details and the reasons why. For context, the password provided doesn't work. Can you provide a correct one, right? Okay. I haven't wired up notifications yet, but eventually it will notify them, and it will also get sent as an email so I know when they need to complete a task or whatnot. Come here. All right. What's wrong now? Here's the details. Password provided doesn't work. Can you provide a correct one? Boom. Again. Okay, now I need to update it. Here it is. I didn't enter it correctly. Complete. Send it back. Boom. Okay. And review again. Tried that password works. Marked as complete. So that's exactly the flow that should be working. So that works properly for all of these tasks. This is just standard. It needs to be kind of tightened up with my approvals, but the flow is there. User experience is there. Smooth, cool. That's generally what I'm expecting. Completed. Boom. Task. All right, cool. So what's the problem? That's what it was. Sorry, so let's try this. The XP wallpaper. Hey man, doesn't get old. Does not get old. When the classic is a classic, you know. XP was a classic. What framework for the backend? So generally for my production backends, I use like Supabase for my database. I set up on VPSs. I don't use anything like Vercel. I try to avoid lock-in, and serverless is fine, but I've learned how to roll my own VPS, and that has saved me a ton of money. So I use VPSs for my backend to actually host it. I use Supabase for my database to also host that stuff, and then I use Drizzle to communicate between my app and the Supabase. That's generally my setup when I'm doing backend. But I also have other things like I use a Redis server for rate limiting and for emitters and real-time events and just a bunch of other things. But generally, that's my setup. An Acorn computer. I don't even think I know that one is. An Acorn computer. I mean, I'm old enough that my school still had, dial-up when I was in like elementary school, and we were still using floppy disks. So I remember basically when the internet became the internet. All right, let's go this. Can you make more? I can request again, or I later send it back. And for anybody that's like worked with freelance work with clients, or especially like small businesses or other freelancers or people that have ideas to start things, the back and forth between emails, it literally goes like this. It's pretty much nonstop, and working with 4 or 5, and don't start multiplying that with 5 clients at a time. The amount of emails and threads that you had to kind of go through to get anything done, things that get missed. This is the exact reason why I'm doing this. Can you make it something more rounded? All right, cool. That's what I needed. So I needed come here. All right, see this task that needs to be done. So this complete task should require. All right, so right now this complete task is just automatically sending it, but I think I want to allow optional notes and context to be sent with it. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so basically the flow that I kind of watch me walk through with the standard task is basically what I need to do as well here as well. I think when you complete a task, I should also bring over. Let's see, where's my dialogue? It's cancel. Where is it? Here. Basically, should open this note dialog right here to once again add submission details to provide additional context. So what it should do is should rewire this button to open this dialog basically by changing the state in the React hooks, and then it should be able to pass along that with the submission. So I want all right, so it's gonna do. Let's see where it is. I do remember lemmings. Square mouses limbs. I definitely do remember those. I mean, my game obviously in school was Oregon Trail. I mean, that was the game, right? Whenever they wheeled that out for computer day, whatever, that was the game for us. All right, so that all right because I already had this set up. So basically, all I did was update this push to include these 2 props that tells the dialogue. This is what I need. It's not required, but I do need notes. Cool. So when I refresh and I go to complete task, boom, here, add submission details, providing relevant details or notes. Let's just say we went use this font to meet request. Let's just say rounded, whatever. Submit it. As you can see, here's my task event timeline, which I am pretty happy with. It keeps track of everybody who's done something, all their actions along the way. And you can see when things get requested, and you can always return to this and, for posterity and for transparency. So I enjoyed doing this part. And then pulls out all the details, which you find right here up the front. So that fixed that flow. So if I come here, and review. All right, cool. Let's see. I reviewed it, whatever else needs to be happening on the back end. Maybe you have a Google Drive or live website or production site that they're checking out and seeing changes. They can review those, come to this task, and they approve it. And when they come back to here, all tasks are completed. So the next thing I need to do is I need to wire up actual project completion. Let's do this. Kanban board. Not familiar. What is a Kanban board? Oh, okay. Actually, I know what you mean. Low key, a little bit. You get your task list and everything. But for the most part, it's mostly for like client facing. So I basically wanted to create a less so much necessarily like internal work and communication, but more so like external and like basically handling communications with clients. And let's say you're a small business or like you're a freelancer that works with other freelancers and you need to give them access to a project that you're actually working on. Say like I'm building a website or something and I'm working with another freelancer to actually, let's say, design the logo or whatever. I want to bring them into a project and I can just bring them into my workspace. They get access to the project. And then once they're done, I can basically remove them from the workspace and whatnot. And then the client can have everything all in one place and they don't need to come back. All of that is just all still there. So it's just honestly just gonna be in their history. So I was really like wanting to keep that as transparent as possible. Honestly, I copied Fiverr. Like Fiverr was basically kind of the inspiration for this. Pretty much how everything happens in the chat. You can see all the messages, you can see the files sent, you can see all the activities, and then you can always come back years later and still find it there. Pretty much the same kind of concept here. Um, um, what did I need to do? All right, this is what I need to do. So I need to be able to mark this as complete. Let's see. Cancel it. That's not what I want to do. Okay, so I need to figure out how I want to be able to do this. Because it is multiple parties involved, I think there needs to be some sort of confirmation. Because I could easily wire it up basically to the point where if you're a workspace organization member, whatever, you can mark this as complete and it'll close it down. So the client can no longer message or create tasks for nobody, whatnot. Still stays up, but basically closes it out. But what I think that should happen, which should be the right way to handle this, is you can mark this as complete and it gives the client the opportunity to confirm that the project is complete. Let me see if that works. Let me see how I want to do that. Then that can lead to some issues where maybe the client just forgets or moves on, and then it just constantly stays open. Let me see. I could do a completion task. I could. I could do a completion task. The only thing is I don't want to have to wire all that up, honestly. Let me double check my. Yeah, see now, because I already have it set up, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, so I already have status is enum. That's fine. Basically, what I did with my cancellation is it just automatically updates the status of my project, and then I go ahead and use that to lock things down. I would like it to be that easy. Basically, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it as complete. It'll fire off a maybe request, and then I want to time gate it so they have, let's say, 48 hours. If they don't respond in 48 hours, I'm not going to get marked as completed. I think that's the way I got to go, because I'm also need to wire it up for cancellation. So if a client cancels their project that's already started, the workspace also has to basically approve of it, and within 48 hours basically have that same basic time window. Maybe I can configure the expiration time. Yeah. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna plan this out with my agent. They typically do a pretty good job of planning stuff out like this. So let's do this. Completion. I appreciate it, Vosky. Appreciate you jumping in the chat and talking. But gonna try to figure this out. Yeah. Actually, what I think I'm gonna do is it needs to be the same behavior for when a workspace cancels a project. Or I don't think cancellations should necessarily need approval, because that can get pretty messy. All right, so I'm gonna just leave it like it is, where cancellations just automatically get canceled. and let them handle it as they would on their own. Appreciate what? I couldn't hear you. I was talking to one of the chatters, Volsky, over there on YouTube, who told me, "All right, gang, good luck out there." Basically, meaning he's probably gonna be, hopping off. So I'm just telling him I appreciate the wish of luck that he gave me. All right, I need to plan out the project completion. An organization marks a project as complete. A client has up to 48 hours to approve of the completion. If they don't approve within that time, it will automatically be marked as completed. I'm gonna leave cancellation the same. Parhatics. Oh yeah, man. No worries. No worries. I'm actually currently streaming to Kick and YouTube and Twitch, so sometimes the chats cannot see each other. I try to mention who's saying what, but I don't always do that. All right. So I think I'm not gonna mess with cancellation. I think both parties should be able to cancel whenever they want, without approving it or not. But I do need to have completion be approved by the client. So I might actually end up doing a completion task because that already handles my requests for revisions, which I don't love doing, but I might actually do that. I used the wrong one. All right, so here's my flow. Typically, when I work with a feature like this, instead of what planning would have taken, honestly, a lot longer, I like to just use Opus 4.6 for my planning. It investigates my conversation, everything I've done so far, and it investigates my code base and what's in place. And it typically does a good job of suggesting ways forward to complete what you need. So I like to use it as that's the honestly the most useful thing about agents for me is the actual planning part of features and everything. Because if you can plan things out pretty well ahead of times, you run into far less issues and roadblocks. So I try to use it as much as I can for most of my planning. But overall, my project flow is pretty much done. Just need to handle the completion and cancellation. I think is already in place. Let's say, for example, let's just check this again. Let's go to marketing plan. Let's go here. Let's go Wu-Tang. He never let me down. Let's add a brief description. Don't need to do so. I can just here click the client again. Create this project. All right. Let's create one more just in case. Let's go. UX design. Let's generate again. Let's copy. This time, let's create a new client. Create that project. Let's give them a name. Let's give them okay, let's go here. So these are pending. Let's log out. Let's go back. So as you can see, this is a pending project that is waiting for me. Megamind Codex, what up, man? So here's my projects. Come back. Cool. You can see I can either start or I can cancel. Here's the details. Here's the details of that business. Here's my details with my projects. What am I building? I've said this a couple times already, but basically it is a project management workflow system that takes a client from start to finish, whether it's from onboarding to completing a project, particularly for freelancers and like small businesses and whatnot. And no, I'm not using Prisma. I use Drizzle, and I use React Router 7 as the framework. So if I come here and let's say I just cancel this right away, messages are read only. Okay. Cancel. Cool. Pending. Back to my dashboard. It's canceled. Now if I come here, cancel as well. Come to this workspace. That needs to be adjusted. All right, come to this workspace. It's not active. I come to my projects. It's canceled. Cool. I come here. Canceled. Can't do anything. I need to disable this. All right, that's what I gotta do. TBH Whitetail. Hey man, I appreciate you ended up here. I don't know how you got here either, but appreciate it. All right, let's go to add note. All right, so this needs to be basically disabled with scoping. Let's go to task. Notes, it's not there. Okay, cool. This just needs to be fixed. Let's come in here. Disabled right here. Add note. Cool. Refresh. All right, cool. I can no longer add notes. Can't do anything here. Can't edit anything, but I can view the client. Back. Now let's try this again. Let's make sure my still works in this one. All right, hold on. All right, this is what I like about planning, especially with Opus 4.6. I mean, GPT does this as well, but Opus does this the best, in my opinion. Y'all can't see. Let me see if I can see. Basically, it asks you questions along the way for clarity and context. And what it's asking right now for a plan is when an organization member initiates completion, should the project get a new status, e.g. pending completion or stay active? And I'm going to say stay active. Actually, no, I'm going to create a new status for it. It's going to be pending completion. Again, this is why I like planning, because it suggests something I would not have done. Gives me a distinct UI state, and it blocks new task creation during this window, which I like. All right, let's do that. And then another question is, when a client requests a revision on the completion, should the project go back to active and allow the organization to re-trigger completion later? Client request a revision on completion, should the project go back to active? Hmm. Can reinitiate completion. Yeah, I do want to revert back to active for the 48-hour auto approval. Which approach do I prefer? So for my auto completion, it looks like I'm gonna have to wire up a simple cron job to basically, if the client forgets or they don't respond within 48 hours, it automatically gets marked as completed. And to be able to handle that, I'm gonna do a combination of lazy checking for my UX. Basically, if somebody visits it within that time frame, or a cron for unvisited projects. So I'm gonna do that. Should we enforce that only? Yes, only one. So it's gonna go ahead and plan this out for me. All right, so let's do this one. Let's add a welcome note. Hey, if y'all don't know, I don't know who made this. Let me see. S. Kingston, whoever this is. A Wu-Tang lorem ipsum is pretty much all I use in my projects now. So let's come here, create a new message. Let's create a message. Complete the form with as much info. Right. And then let's just create an example. Say, go to this link to complete it. Let's go here, update client details with info. Create this task. Cool. Here's the link. View task. Interesting. Just double check him. Okay. Let's go here. Wait. Shit, let's go back. Pending. That needs to be fixed. All right. So you should be able to click here. All right. Let me see. Disabled if that doesn't seem right. Let's go here. What up, TIEFX? Where would I direct a beginner looking to get into the field? I mean, I've said this a few times. I mean, they're my go-to. I would say Free Code Camp is a good baseline if you want to learn the basics and the core concepts about programming. It's gonna be boring. There's just things that you're just gonna have to learn. I would say Free Code Camp for sure is the start. I don't know how comfortable you are with HTML, CSS, and those kind of core concepts, but if you want to learn JavaScript and Python and like relational databases and backend stuff, Free Code Camp is a great starting point. It took me, I'll say, about 3 months if you want to go through most of those courses. you're going to want to understand the basics. You might not necessarily do the basics as much anymore,
Yeah.
but you absolutely need to at least be able to look at code and understand what's happening. And the best way to do that right now that I found is free code camp. It's a good start. It's a good start to get you the core basics and whatnot. But then once you kind of move on from there, absolutely do the YouTube tutorials, kind of learn about there, but don't get stuck on those. The fastest way to learn after you get that kind of core understanding of code and what you're looking at and basically how to approach code. That's what code camp does really well, is teaches you how to approach code and how to like think about building something and the best practices, because especially when you start working with other people, you want to basically be able to slide right in. And if you don't have that kind of core foundational, people are not going to enjoy working with you. But once you kind of move on from there, do some YouTube tutorials, whatever, but then think about whatever app or project or website thing that you want to build the most, and kind of just go at it. Like there's no like failure anymore, honestly. Like failure is what you need to do. You need to build shitty apps, you need to build shitty websites. Like you have AI, you have all these forums, you have all these places to get help, so you kind of just got to start coding after that. Like once you get the foundation, just get your hands on the keyboard and build as much shit code as you can. Born Again Humans, the screen gives my new brain anxiety. I mean, look, I was in the same place when I was first starting this. I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. Like, I don't know what any of that does or any of it says. But once you kind of like get a core understanding about code, it's pretty simple, quite honestly. Like, I can't walk you through everything, but like once you understand it, you understand the flow. You'll know instantly pretty much what you're looking at, and that's why I don't do a ton of commenting, because you should have your code be able to like explain exactly what you are trying to do. Will Redder E47. What am I coding? I'm basically building a again, I've said this a couple times, but a project management workflow system that takes a client or somebody like if you're a freelancer or whatever, from onboarding to project completion, all in one place, all messaging, all task handling, all that in one place. All right, what am I looking at? Here it is. Do that. Let's do. Matter of fact, let's do that. It's gonna be his task cancel. What's the stack?
Yeah.
I appreciate the follow. Par addicts. What's the stack is I use React Router 7 for my basic framework. I use Drizzle to communicate with my database, and I use ShadCN to get components up, and Tailwind obviously for CSS. And then when I do production, I host on my own VPS, and then I use Superbase typically so far for my database, and I'm also using it right now for my image uploading. All right, cool, that's better. Now let's go here. Did I not? Who did I invite? Oh, it was a new client. That's what it was. Let's go here. All right, so I can show off this flow that I set up for client acquisition. So I come here, Oh, and I also use Postmark for my email systems. Any reason I'm not using CloudBot? One, I don't know enough about it yet. I would need to wipe one of my old laptops if I'm just going to run something like that. I wouldn't allow it to have full access to any of my systems right now. And I'm still pretty much learning. Like, I know a good amount about coding and programming, but I still like being hands on and in the weeds and learning all the little ins and outs and details. I don't feel like I'm at that point where like I would just let it do everything. Especially not for an app that like I plan on being a production type app. So I definitely plan on at some point maybe checking out CloudBot if it kind of goes that way. But right now I like getting hands on. I still like still being hands on, very much hands on. All right, so here's my flow. So client got an email saying, "Hey, join this project." You can't see that. He enters. Basically, I used I also use BetterAuth for my authentication. I pretty much use BetterAuth on all my apps for all my authentication. It's by far the best authentication in my view so far. W answer. Yeah, I appreciate that, Shinra. I'm a dev as well. 5 years. When if you're even going to be typing code in a few years. Not much. Honestly, not much. Like I type code, but definitely far less than anybody else, within the last 10, 15, 20 years of programming that has before that kind of was just hopping into this. That's absolutely the thing. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because I don't really consider myself a coder or a programmer because I don't love the coding part of programming. That's not why I got into it. I like building systems and I like understanding how to put pieces together. So like I'm not necessarily like the person that like feels like I need to code every single line, but I do think people need to understand what is being coded. I don't think we're at that point where you can just trust something to do everything. And I mean, we are basically all product managers, and I don't know. It's a definitely interesting time. Um, I find agents to be extremely helpful in a lot of ways, and especially when you're doing something, especially like a freelancer or you work for yourself or you're working in a company like a startup, something where you're going to be rolling out tons and tons of features and like just the speed of things that you're able to scaffold is extremely impressive and not having to go in and code and or copy and paste every single line and then readjust it to exactly what you need. I don't miss that. Oh, I definitely don't miss doing that. But I still am very much in the phase where like I like to check what the hell it's doing still, and like I still like to understand exactly what's doing. So I don't know. I don't know where we'll be in terms of coding in the future, but I'm not necessarily mad if we don't code as much hands on. But I do think the understanding about systems is more crucial than ever. I think if anything, it's exposed a lot of people, even people that have been coding for a long time, that don't necessarily know full systems and don't understand literally how to build things for a user experience. I think user experience is so crucial nowadays because yeah, I can build things, but honestly, a lot of things that it builds automatically are not really great. And there's a lot of holes and a lot of things. So I think if you can provide that in terms of just like having the experience and that insight, I think that's more like valuable than anything these days. Because I'm a freelancer, I've been freelancing. A lot of people come at you with all these ideas, and yeah, they thrown systems at them, they've thrown these agents at them, and then it's well shit. And then they come to me, a few people now, be like, hey, can you fix this? Here's what I'm trying to do. And they're like, oh, like, all right, because I've worked with so many systems, like I can kind of tell you like what you can or can't do or what you can expect or like, you know what I mean? Just because you can build something doesn't necessarily mean you should also. And that's why you get so much shit out there. That's just my 2 cents. All right, let's double check the security on this. Let's make sure. Cool. So you can't, even if they remove it, they can't interact. Let's double check this. Yep, can't interact. That's exactly what I want. The timeline. No, absolutely not. Like if you're just learning and you're building, like and you're betting yourself, like build as much as you can. I always say like build shit, build shitty apps, build shitty projects. Like that's how you learn how to make something good. It's because you've seen what the shit is. You've seen what you've done things like wrong. Like from my first app to like now, like and that kind of difference between what I've learned just from building shitty projects is like, okay, I've learned more from building shitty apps and websites and projects than I ever did from building something good, quite honestly. So like you have to kind of go through that process 1000%. But now if we're talking about production, you're talking about like having to have it public facing where you're opening up to everybody, and then you're dealing with like money, you're dealing with credit cards, you're dealing with sensitive information. That's where people get in a lot of trouble. Like you have to know the basics when it comes to that. Like there's not really any other way. Like I wouldn't trust agents to completely secure an app. Absolutely not. Or even to build complete backends. Like there's just so many things that can go wrong that like if you don't understand what you're looking at, like I wouldn't do it personally. That's e-waste. Definitely build apps to learn, but I've got colleagues that vibe code a lot of apps. That's e-waste. I mean, yeah, like I said, I think there's a fine line. I think there's a fine line. Like if you're just learning, build everything you can. But also like if you're just learning, I wouldn't be vibe coding whole apps. That kind of defeats the point of learning. Like, yes, you can build with apps with agents because that is the flow nowadays. Like, I'm not the kind of person that's like, don't ever use AI, don't use agents when you're building, because if you're going to be working in the modern time or you're going to be working in the years to come, even if you work for a company, they're going to be expecting you to build with agents. So like, why wouldn't you learn that skill as well and learn how agents think and how they work and like how to work out a flow between what you're doing, what they're doing. So like, do that. But if you're just learning, do not vibe code whole apps. You're not going to be learning shit. Trust me. All right, that works. All right, so everything's secure. Let's go to timeline. Do this one more time. I don't think I double checked that. All right, it's disabled. You can't visit. You can't start. That's all right. That's cool. Let's refresh this. Go to start project. Now you can start the desk. Okay. First meeting. Invite. Send this. Cool. Now let's say. Okay, let's say for example you started a task. Boom. And complete. Form. All right. So now when I come in and say I was a workspace and I decided we're not going to continue, I'm going to have to actually, hey, appreciate the follow. Can't read your name, but let's say I, hey, appreciate the sub. Let's say I'm a workspace. The client actually started the project, but for whatever reason we can't continue on this and I cancel it. I need to set up a system where it not only cancels the project, it should automatically cancel all the tasks that are active. So I need to wire that up, I think. review. Let's go here. All right, it's in review. We started this task appropriately. Let's create a project lead. Let's go here. There. It's active in review. Cool. Projects. Okay, add this note. This is cool. See, here's my notes. Here. All right. So how that works. So basically what I'm about to test now is if I cancel this project, I'm gonna need to wire this up because I know it's not wired up now already. It's gonna mark this as read only. It's gonna basically cancel all interactivity, but also what I need to do is I need to mark these tasks that are active, that are in review or in progress as canceled. And then, yeah, so I'm gonna have to automatically mark these tasks also as well. Yeah, just because you're not learning technical skills doesn't mean it's a waste of time. Ideas create other ideas. I mean, 1000%. 1000%. But I think, like I said, if you're just prototyping or just scaffolding, vibe code away. I don't care. Like, that's fine. But if you're doing production and you're handling like sensitive information, which most production apps are going to be doing, you're just opening yourself to a lot of problems if you just vibe code the whole thing. And you just don't know what you don't know. Like, you just don't know that what it's doing is bad until you know. Like, that's just all I'm saying. Like, there are just so many security issues with vibe coding that, especially on the back end of things, that a lot of people are doing that they don't recognize are going to cause a lot of harm for other people and just yourself as well, especially when you're running production things. I mean, and the best thing about getting technical skills is that you can start vibe coding completely free because you understand the holes that are there and that you can fix. Or not. I mean, honestly, I don't care because I feel like business is pretty good for freelancers since vibe coding has come around because there's a lot of issues that people need fixing that have no idea that they created and that they are reaching out to people like me and other people on freelancing sites that need help, that need work, that need things fixed, or they have ideas. And honestly, it sparks an idea for other people, which I think is cool. But it also opens the door for like freelancers and programs to fill in those gaps. So I'm not really mad at it either way. All right, before I do that, don't want to cancel right now. Let's go back to this. See what plan it came up with to handle completions. So I think ultimately, like I said, when I was working on completing projects, I'm just going to go ahead and create a completion task. Cleanest approach since it already handles approval, revisal. And here's the plan it laid out. It's going to update my schema to take that new status. It's going to add a completion deadline column, which stores a 48-hour expiration. And it gets cleared on revision/cancellation. And I can add, it adds another column to my task table, distinguish special completion task from regular approval task. It's my validations, and then creates another and updates my servers to handle this new task status. Okay. So basically just gonna create a new status for my status type for my task, which is gonna be completion. Right now I have standard and I have approval, and then last one is gonna be a completion, and it's gonna add some fields to the schema to handle that, and it's going to rewire my already set up server logic to handle that. So it shouldn't be too crazy of a build. Let's just start this. Like Linus Torvalds said, vibe coding will bring people to learn more about code. Yeah, I mean, 1000%. Like, I think it opens the door for curiosity and for like wanting to learn more about how things work, which I think is a good thing. But I think it's also going to weed out a lot of people that like want to build stuff from people that like, because when they really start learning everything that goes into it, maybe that's not what they want to do. I think, vibe coding overall is good for the industry, quite honestly. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, this is gonna ruin everything. I just think it opens the door and possibility to more, but you just have to be very careful with how you use it. And when I'm planning stuff out, I do sometimes I will let it just go ahead and build something out small, but then I always go back in and I add my personal touches and fix things up. All right, so added a pending completion. So this is I already had the completed state, so it's adding a pending completion state, which is going to cancel certain things. Added a new field right here for completion deadline, which is going to handle my expirations. A new boolean in my project task table is project completion. I'm trying to figure out why I added project completion. Let's see. All right, and I already added it to my types helper file right here, and it notes and tasks. Cool. Let's go ahead and apply those changes and then tell it to start phase 2. Let's copy this. All right, my phase 2 was validations. So it's gonna update all my validations, update my status helper, and update my data type object. There we go. Pending completions. Basically just adding that everywhere it needs. It's gonna add more validations. Cool. Updated this. That's cool. All right, done. Now this is VS Code. This is, yes, the sturdy is this cursor. No, this is VS Code. VS Code is the first thing I learned on, so it's pretty much all I'm stuck with. I've actually never used cursor. Validations look good. All right, implement phase 3. GitHub Copilot. Yeah, I Copilot Pro. I should try Cloud Code. I mean, people keep telling me I should try it out. I mean, I use their models with GitHub Copilot. I don't really know what the main difference is. you can let me know about that. I still use their models for some of the planning and implementation, but what's the difference between just using it on VS Code versus Cloud Code itself? You said it's much more powerful there, and that the planning and everything is way better. I mean, I honestly haven't had too many complaints with this, but people keep telling me I should check it out. I probably will get around to it someday soon. But I'm still very much in if it ain't broke, don't fix it so far. Now, if I can handle, I mean, I handle testing on VS Code. You says connect to Playwright MCP and it can test your whole project workflow and also like do changes for you right there. It does it on VS Code as well. So I don't know. They're just I'm just confused on what the main difference is. Maybe it is more powerful, but I might check it out someday. All right, so it updated my server backend to handle these new status type. And I think it added here is my project completion window. Basically, this is my timeout. If they don't approve in 48 hours, it's going to get auto completed. A new function, project deadline, create a new date, and then add it to that 40 hours. Inactive if no active projects. So basically, find the project that status, and if it is active, return next client status, inactive pending. Okay, so this is basically trying to handle my client status updating. Because if a client is in a current active project and I cancel that project, it should automatically set the client status back to inactive. Don't know why. Basically saying if there is a client user ID, it's set as inactive. If there isn't one, basically if the client has not accepted or created an account, they get sent to pending. Cool. But that should never happen anyways. Sync project status for completion, test transition. Where project IDs, bring in the client ID, client. Okay. Basically, there's no project. Return 404. If it's coming from interview to completed, I want to update my project to this completed status. Cool. Otherwise, set. Oh, then you set the client inactive if no active projects. Okay, that's what I was doing. So it's checking my clients and making sure that my client does not have any other projects that are active. And if they don't, they get set to inactive. If they do still have other active projects, then they remain active. If arguments from status is in review, is in progress. Okay, so basically if it's in review and then I change it to in progress, you set the status of the project back to active, and you remove the completion deadline. Then I take it from in progress back to in review, and goes back to pending completion. Cool. And then here's my project completion. This is the function to run if within 40 hours the client has not approved the completion. If it's less than the completion timeline, then now find this first and if there's no completion task, return false. Otherwise, okay, here it is. Change the status to completed. Type auto approve. Status completed. Again, same thing for the client, updating their status. Then I need project timelines. You're going to update that status for the actual task on the timelines. Then you're going to send it to my emitter to publish in real time. Well, that looks good. I'm pretty sure you can connect GitHub Copilot to MCP server, so I haven't tried it, but I think you just have to install it to VS Code. Really? But nevertheless, I tried Opus on Google and a Gravity IDE versus Cloud Code. And even with the same model, and Gravity could not compare. I mean, you'd be very right. You could, y'all could be definitely right. But I know pretty much everything you could do on Cloud Code, you can do on Copilot and everything. I know you can connect it to Playwright and all that other stuff. I think Cloud is extremely powerful, and it is definitely something I probably will check out in the future. Yeah. I'm just kind of like in the middle of my, the flow that works for me right now. So if it ain't broke, like, don't want to necessarily fix it right now. But I definitely plan on checking all that stuff out more. Oh, and I appreciate the sub, whoever actually just gave me that. All right, let's check this real quick. Initiate project completion. All right, so finding this members to make sure that you can do this basically. And if you are not a member of this workspace or organization, then you can't initiate it. And otherwise, find the project, grab this two columns with it, the ID and the status. And if it's not active, only active projects can enter completion. Otherwise, all right, so you're going to look for our project task and find the first one where ID equals arguments ID, project ID equals arguments project ID, the completion, project completion is true. Deleted that is null. Basically, it's not deleted. And it's not either these completed or canceled. Cool. Here's my deadline. And then it's running this into a transaction. Update my projects to pending completion. All right, basically this is doing the same thing. This is just me initiating the project completion. Okay, checking autocomplete project. Autocomplete expired projects. Pending completion, and if it's not less than, cool. Update it. All right, that looks good. White Raven, what's up, man? Appreciate you joining the chat. I feel I am still in old school. I feel I like it when I get a headache trying to solve and get my own ideas instead of jumping to any idea to solve what I have. I mean, I definitely understand that. I was definitely for the first 5-6 months. I don't think I used AI completely at all. I didn't touch it just because I really wanted to like deeply understand what I was doing. But I will say, once I started using AI, and especially if you're building full systems out, the ability to do that basically on your own or with like few people, I don't think I can go back. I can go back. I don't enjoy writing every single line of code. That's honestly the bulk of it for me. Like I like systems and I like connecting things. I like building things, but I don't necessarily love the individual line coding of every single detail that I want. And yeah, I don't always jump to AI, especially to solve problems. But when you're building like a lot of apps or certain systems that have already existed for so long, it's not like I'm like inventing something new, you know? So like just give me what the best practice is. Like, tell me what has generally been done. And then Justin JX, how long did you program before you were confident to create something? It's kind of like I mean, the first thing I built, I kind of just started doing it, honestly. That was years and years ago. First full app system I say I built, I didn't no, I didn't know everything I was doing. I kind of just hopped on there and did it, and then I started doing. I appreciate the sub. I basically just hopped on, and started doing it, and then like the old days, Stack Overflow was like my best friend whenever I ran into a problem, and then basically yeah, and then when I restarted, basically it took me, I would say 5 to 6 months till I was like, so I could build my first like pretty featured app from ground up myself. I would say that. But honestly, you won't feel confident. You won't feel comfortable building even when you've learned as much as you can until you start doing it, because there's just so many systems and like, hold on, I think I lost connection. All right, cool. I'm back. Um, yeah. So what I was saying is basically you're not going to feel confident for years, but you're definitely not going to feel confident until you start building something like serious, like something like that's going to have you like banging your head against the wall a little bit, because there's just so many systems, there's so many packages, there's so many like things that you're going to have to learn that you can't be taught necessarily until you start doing it. Like you're going to have to learn Drizzle, you have to learn Docker, you're going to have to learn how to host something, you have to learn backend, you're going to have to learn SQL. Like there's just too many parts for you to feel like if you were to wait until you're completely confident, you're just not going to build shit. So like you kind of just have to do it. And with the help of AI and agents at your fingertips, you should feel confident enough to just kind of go at it. And like if you fail, you fail. Who cares? But like you have to just start doing it. I used to have a passion to create, so I went back to school after 3 years. I can't program. I have like 6 languages of the belt and no desire to create, praying after school that Flash comes back. I mean, that's a big part of it. Like, honestly, like if you don't enjoy what you're doing, um, I don't think there's anything that can like build that for you. My opinion and like my suggestion is like, I always tell people do the tutorials and do all the like whatever lessons, but like the moment you can start building something that you genuinely are interested in building, build that. Who cares how dumb or pointless it is? Like you're gonna 1000% be more interested and passionate about something that to build something that you genuinely want to build, even if it's just for you, versus like building tutorial shit or working for other people. So like build what you're like passionate about first, And then if you still don't have passion for it, then it just might not be for you. But like if you start building something that you genuinely like have a passion for, it's gonna like carry you forward so much more than just building tutorials or building like another fucking to-do list. And the harder it is, the better, because the amount of systems you're able to learn. Like first thing I built was like a meme system. Like I'll show y'all. I pretty much showed this every issue, but I'll show this again. First thing I fully built on my own was literally just a meme machine. Like this taught me basically how to work with agents, taught me how to programmatically create images and how to handle canvas. Not a super complicated system, but it teaches you a lot and a lot of things that like I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. For example, just a simple meme machine, basically, like something that allows you to learn how to do something like this, teaches you a lot. And it's just something I felt like I wanted to do because it was fun to do. So it doesn't really matter what you build, just make sure it's something that you want to build. And then go from there. And then I built like full social network, and I built a couple of like super in-depth like apps after that. And then you just start, and then like I think the passion will start to kick in. Like I didn't love what I was learning when I was learning coding, but the moment I started building something that I wanted, oh yeah, it just that should just click. That's it, guy. I appreciate it, man. It's I mean, if y'all want to check it out, I don't know if y'all can see the see my URL, but if you want to check out my first app, it's literally called mememachine3000.com. First thing I built, plugged it into, learned how to use APIs, learned how to plug into agents, learned how to prompt from my app to that. Like just a lot of things I learned in that system. Very simple on the surface, but teaches you a lot. So like if y'all want to check out what I built, go ahead, mememachine3000.com. But I appreciate that. All right, while that's loading, I mean, I'll show y'all the second thing I built. You've been doing a lot of stuff, HTML, PHP, SQL stuff right now, so I'm going to open just to inspect SE1, make HTML. I mean, yeah, I mean, kick it. I haven't looked at this in I don't even know how long, but um, I'll show you the second one I built. Not the second, but one of the other ones. The first major thing I built was this full-on social platform called Collective that handles, you know, media uploading, profiles, messaging, and whole invitation system, authentication in terms of roles and whatnot. I can hardly make buttons, so I'm interested in all these buttons. Yeah, I mean, check it out. Like, honestly, a good way to learn is by looking at other people's websites and looking at their code and seeing what they've done and like basically stealing and just bring that to your toolbox. That's how I kind of design and learn how to do things. This is the second thing I built. So again, just a full suite. You'd be surprised at what you're able to build just by being interested in what you're building. I'll probably go in depth about this more because I actually do need to build some features for this, but yeah. Like, I mean, one area that I'm definitely like, I don't know, it kind of all depends on how people learn, but like I am when it comes time code to design, like even when I'm coding, I need it to look somewhat decent to like keep me going. So I approach things design first. So like I look at sites like awwawards.com, Dribble, other places, Contra. I'm on Contra for like inspiration. I just honestly like I'm design first. So if I see some designs that honestly sparks a lot of inspiration for me as well. All right, let's see what it did. So finished phase 4 of implementation. Basically, it's implementing a lazy autocomplete checker and project loader. So if somebody hasn't visited in a certain amount of time, it'll automatically mark it as completed. Added a scheduler. So it basically installed a cron job onto my server that's going to also work on production. Let's just look. Here it is, node cron, which I thought I already had installed, but I guess not. And then my root, which is where it needs to happen, starts the actual scheduler so that it can run and know when it needs to mark a project as completed. Here's my layout. Check auto complete. Here. Where am I? This project's okay. So here's a basically guard if it's pending completion and there's completion deadline less than this time, less than or equal to this time. Yeah. Check and auto complete the project, and then if auto completed, basically remove access. Cool. Appreciate the sub. Finals week, yeah, man. Hey, good luck with that. I do not miss those days, but I appreciate you hopping in there. Probably catch you, be on here pretty regularly, so I might catch you again. Session project role from access. Here's my scheduler. Starting the cron. Here's my logs. Yeah. Appreciate the follow. Scheduler completion. If project completion task. All right, here's my cron schedule. It's running every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes. I'll try to wait. Complete conscript. Completed, expired. Okay. All right, that looks good. And then you remove the cron. All right, cool. All right, what's my gonna tell it to implement phase. I think I have 2 more phases it needs to do. The last one's just UI, so I'm gonna tell it just do both. And that should be it for that. All right. Otherwise, let's come in here. No, I can't start my server yet. All right. All right, so should have wired up my API routes. Basically, just added a guard here. Product status equals pending completion, and the intent is to create a task. This stops task creation while a project is awaiting completion. And then a bunch of UI changes here. Let's see. Because now it's updating my status. Show status overlay is pending client locked, or the status equals pending completion. I don't know if I don't know why I did that. I'm probably gonna have to remove that. Let me see. Updated overlay usage sites to pass new props and show during pending completion. I'll have to check that visually. What I think it's doing, it's basically showing the overlay, which I don't love. I'll probably end up changing that. What else? Initiate complete project schema. Session. If it's pending completion, projects pending completion proof cannot be edited. Okay. If the intent is to complete project and you're not a member, wait for the payload. Error if it's not successful. Otherwise, initiate project completion. Send it the values. Then you try to find this project. The new refreshed, basically you're removing the completion deadline. Or you're adding the completion deadline actually. Yeah, you're adding the completion deadline. You're changing the status of completion. Cool. Here's my request and status. Pending completion, cancel the project. It's active and it's pending. You're not a member. No, you can request project completion. Here's the dialog. Request project completion. Project completion. I mean, so that's a good thing about agents is that when you add a new feature, there's typically so many guards and safety kind of measures that you need to implement throughout your code base. That shit can be fucking tedious. And agents do a pretty good job of finding all the places it needs to plug into to kind of guard against certain actions. And that saves a ton of time. I do not like having to go through your entire code base, especially when it gets like pretty big and it's starting to get pretty big. It can be a pain in the ass to find all those areas where you need to put certain guards like this. Then updated my overlay, which I don't like. I don't like what I did that. But whatever, we'll check this. I got an error. It's basically saying that the file does not exist. Something happened with my migration. So let me see. Nothing to mine. Yeah, there's an error. Huh. All right, let's fix that. Like my schema didn't get migrated for whatever reason. It's in here. It's in here. Why is it not? Pending completion. Let's see what changes. Okay, that's weird. I was trying to figure out why my migration is not happening. It typically happens when it's missing a file, but I have it generated, so I don't really understand why it's not. Author in my table. Run add this column. Completion deletion. Task status. Uh, all right, that should fix it. Something went wrong with my generation, and there's a duplicate in here. Oh, that's weird. Should have fixed that. Let's see. No errors. Cool. And my cron is running. I get the scheduler project completion sweep started. Cool. Now let's go to here. Okay, so all right. I like that behavior. That's why I didn't want it to be a task. So I don't need to select a specific task, but when I go to settings, it should say complete project, but I kind of want that to be hmm. As project completion, this will send a completion improvement request to the client. They can approve request revisions within 48 hours. Not yet. Should probably add a button right here instead of putting in the settings. All right, let's keep these changes. Better. That's better. I'll probably style that later, figure out exactly how I want it to look like, but let's do maybe class name. PG. Okay. Text. Foreground. Transition. Text. All right, I think I'm at a pretty good spot. It wired up completions. It should. Let's just double check, make sure it works. No, but I'll go figure it out on offline. Getting a failed request for whatever reason somewhere along the line. But that's it for today's stream. I think I got a pretty good. Oh, see, it actually did work. But a good spot to stop. I will clean up probably a lot of this offline, and then next time I come back on there, hopefully all I gotta wire up is notifications, and then I'll be able to get this up on my production server for further testing. But got a lot done today. Talked to a lot of y'all. Good to meet y'all. Appreciate y'all who followed, subs, whatever. And I'll probably be back on here pretty shortly within another day or two, either to work on social network or something else. But I appreciate y'all. Peace.